On today's episode of Matter of Opinion, we discuss Shanquella Robinson and the status update of Dejanay Jackson's arrest. And if she is arrested, why is it not being reported? We also got updates on the Kaibo 6 and updates on the ongoing investigation. Like always, we gathered information from multiple sources and condensed it into one video that's digestible. So grab your drinks, grab your popcorn, and let's talk about it.
It's a matter of opinion.
Before we get started with this video, we just want to show our appreciation to you guys, the viewers. We had a goal to reach 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and because of you lovely people, we surpassed that goal. Those who've been with us from day one, we definitely appreciate you guys. And all you new subscribers, we appreciate you guys too, because here on Matter of Opinion, your opinion matters. If this is your first time here, consider hitting that subscribe button and clicking that notification bell. Like the video, share the video, comment on the video. Let's get started. So as you guys know, in recent days, Metropolimics dropped an article that said that Dejanay Jackson was arrested. Now, when this article was dropped, we dropped a video announcing that Dejanay Jackson was arrested. Since then, we pulled that video and made it private because we didn't want to give misinformation, because no other news outlet was reporting that Dejanay Jackson has been arrested. Now, that article on Metropolimics was written by an investigative journalist by the name of Gerardo Zuniga. Now, it's his work that started the investigation on the Shanquella Robinson story, but since this article, he's been catching a lot of flack because nobody can piece together what he was saying about the arrest in this article that he put together. Now, shout out to the lead attorney. The lead attorney actually did his diligence to have a sit down and interview Gerardo Zuniga. Now, that live that he had that interview wound up being 3 hours and 30 minutes long. So what we did was we condensed the information and made it digestible, but I strongly suggest going to the lead attorney's channel and checking out that interview. So without further ado, Miss Erica, do you want to break down that interview?
All right, so to get us started, a little bit of background of who Gerardo Zuniga is. He is an investigative journalist who broke the news that Dejanay Jackson was arrested. His job is to try to figure out information that the public is interested in, that someone is trying to hide. He must do this within the confinements of the Mexican government, since they do have laws in place for giving information out to the media. So based on the Penal Code of Baja California Sur, Article 311, if someone gives information to the media, they can be held liable and serve up to 3 to 7 years in prison and also have to pay a fine. So all the information that he's been given at this time is off the record. So according to Gerardo, on November 21st, 2022, a special type of arrest warrant was issued with an arrest order and extradition order to bring Dejanay Jackson back to Mexico. He then went on to say that a federal judge in Mexico declared Dejanay Jackson a fugitive of the Mexican government. According to his sources, Dejanay Jackson was arrested in Connecticut by the FBI at a family member's home. Based off of the questions of the lead attorney, Gerardo was asked, where is Dejanay Jackson now, based off the article he published. He stated the only way that the Mexican government officials was able to talk about the case is when Dejanay Jackson was already in Mexico. A judge has formally and legally attached the accusations to Dejanay Jackson's case, and until then, they're not going to discuss any information publicly. During the interview, Gerardo made it apparent that there are 3 categories in the extradition law between Mexico and U.S. Those categories are murder, kidnapping, and femicide for charges to be brought up. The law that he's talking about is the extradition treaty between the United States of America and the United Mexican States of 1978. Gerardo then went on to say that based off of his experience, it would be weird for the United States of America to speak on a United Mexican States case. The case happened in Mexico, the murder happened in Mexico, and the trial should happen in Mexico. He also pointed out that U.S. government officials must use Mexican authorities' information or information they obtained themselves in regards to this investigation. Since the suspect is an American citizen, the crime happened in Mexico, and the suspect currently resides in the United States.
Now, since the article of DJ Jackson's arrest was published, he's been getting a lot of pushback, being called a fraud and putting out misinformation. So at one point in the interview, he pulled his phone up to the screen and showed he had over 100 calls by media outlets to get information from him. Now, based on everything that he said in its totality, it led to the information that he presented being labeled as rumors and false information.
According to Geraldo, once the U.S. received the request on November 21st, they had anywhere from 20 to 30 days to decide if the information they received is credible enough for DJ Jackson to be extradited back to Mexico. That means when the U.S. received the information, it gave them full access to the file that Mexico had collected. It gave them all of the evidence that Mexico has on DJ Jackson at this time. And then the U.S. has to decide if they want to send DJ back to Mexico to face these alleged charges. He then went on to say the accusation for DJ Jackson is femicide. In this case, the sentence carries anywhere from 30 to 60 years in prison and a fine. He also went in to say that the prosecutor's office in Mexico does not just have the video evidence. There's also testimony from at least 2 people that are a part of the Cabo Six.
So to put it in layman's terms for you guys, 2 people out of the Cabo Six is talking to the prosecutors in Mexico.
According to Geraldo, he is also stressing that there is audio recordings between DJ Jackson and Shanquella Robinson on their way to Mexico. He states that the charges for femicide in Mexico has to be between friends or someone with a sentimental relationship. In other words, this cannot be done by a stranger.
He also went on to state that a Mexican prosecutor was able to interview Shanquella's dad to prove that there was a friendship between DJ Jackson and Shanquella Robinson, which is the base of the femicide case. Now, one thing that stood out to me was he alleged that the friends actually moved the body from a second-story bedroom to the family room on the first floor, and they put clothes on her, which means they tampered with the crime scene. He then went on to say that the alleged friends lied to the Mexican authorities, stating that Shanquella Robinson was not beaten. But then the autopsy was performed, and once it was performed, all the facts came out, which proved that everything they said was a lie. Now, at this point of the interview, a question came up asking who was the one that found Shanquella's body, to which he replied the person who found Shanquella was the maid Lucy. He then went on to say that the doctor is under investigation for the crime of omission. And what does that mean? Anything from falsifying paperwork, not giving proper care, or medical malpractice as an example. He was then asked the question, why is Shanquella's dad saying he hasn't spoken to anybody? He then replied he's not sure why he's denying it, but there's a record on file of the dad talking to someone in the Mexican authorities. He then went to state that after the autopsy proved that they lied, when the authorities went back to the hotel, it was discovered that the friends switched hotels.
Another person posed the question, what hotel did the friends move to after the attack? Geraldo answered that he was not sure of the name of the hotel at that time. Another question was posed, were there cameras in the villa? He stated that there were only cameras outside of the villa. Another question was posed, why were the friends allowed to go back home? Geraldo stated the officials came back looking for the friends after the autopsy was performed, and they had already left the country by then. He stated the alleged suspect flew from Mexico to Texas to Charlotte, North Carolina. He was lastly asked, is it common for these types of crimes to happen in Mexico? He stated this is really rare since the killer is among her friends.
So with this interview, what key points that he said stands out to you?
The key points that stand out to me is the fact that the U.S. doesn't really have any information because based off of Mexican laws, nobody really can talk about it yet. The other thing that stands out to me is the fact that he's in Mexico, so he can get more information than someone in the U.S. trying to call someone to get it. The other thing that stands out to me is no one can exactly say where she is or where she isn't because there's nothing public quite yet. We're still within that 20 to 30-day process that the United States has to be able to extradite her. So obviously no information is going to come out yet because they're still trying to make sure they have enough information to send her back. Her meaning Dejanay Jackson back to Mexico.
The thing that stands out to me is the body was moved and clothed, and the fact that the maid found the body. Because now that brings questioning with the doctor, with the 3 hours of trying to resuscitate her. All of these things now make me question a lot of what took place after Shanquella was robbed of her life. As far as Dejanay Jackson's arrest, there has not been a red notice. There has been no information. No U.S. media has backed up or made a claim that she has been arrested. So why did news come out saying that she was arrested? This made us go down the rabbit hole. And once we went down the rabbit hole, this is what we found.
In the extradition treaty between Mexico and the United States, I did find information about a request for a provisional arrest through the Office of International Affairs. Through this particular office, they allow the required parties to put a formal request in with the extradition process so that they can go arrest this person so they're not fleeing while the case is being built.
If you want to read more about that provisional arrest, the link will be in the description. But pretty much, you can have the provisional arrest if the person is pretty much a flight risk. And the Cabo 6 pretty much showed that they are a flight risk when they lied to the Mexican government, fled to the US, and then Dejanay fled to Connecticut. Now, one could say she was visiting family or whatever the case may be, but in their eyes, they could see it as fleeing. So with all those key factors, a provisional arrest can be made. So this makes me ask you, Erica P., do you believe that Dejanay Jackson is in custody?
I believe that she is, because if they have up to 60 days to make it known that she's in custody, she could potentially be sitting here and waiting the extradition process.
The reason why I believe she's in custody is because the last location I heard she was in Connecticut. And when the lead attorney had this interview with Gerardo, he stated that she was arrested in Connecticut. So as soon as I saw that, that connected the dots. So with that being said, I hope that gives you guys a better understanding why nothing is published. And let us know what you think in the comment section. Do you believe that she's actually in custody? We would love to hear your take on it. This is definitely a case that's going to be ongoing. We're going to stay on it. And any update we get, we will definitely inform you guys and stay up to date and stay on top of this. Now, before we wrap up this video, I just want to say something to you guys. We're all on the same team here. What do I mean by that? Since this murder happened in Mexico, and the way that Gerardo explained this, everything is under wraps. We're all trying to piece everything together. So there's going to be misinformation. People are going to know more than others. The bottom line is we're on the same team and we're trying to look for justice for Shanquella Robinson. So instead of attacking those because they may have some misinformation, how about we educate one another and fill the person in on the correct details? Once we do that, it'll speed track us to getting justice for Shanquella Robinson. Once again, if you like the video, consider subscribing to the channel and clicking that notification bell. Definitely smash that like button and share it amongst your friends. And if you want to follow us on our other social media platforms, the links are in the description. That's going to do it for this episode of Matter of Opinion. I'm your boy Walls P.
I'm your girl Erica.
And we will catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.
Peace.
It's a matter of opinion.